The sun hung low over the Atacama Desert on October 3, 2097, its last pale light stretching shadows across the cracked ochre sands. A hush settled over the barren expanse as the survey drones sleek. Unmanned quads equipped with hyperspectral scanners hovered in perfect formation. They had been dispatched by the United Global Coalition's Advanced Reconnaissance Division to chart mineral deposits. But today their infrared feeds flickered with something entirely different. An object, vast and anomalous, half buried in sand as ancient as the dunes themselves. Dr. Elena Marquez watched from the edge of the command buggy, her heart hammering beneath her dusty jacket. The screens in front of her displayed a three-dimensional reconstruction of what the drones had detected: a 2-kilometer-long hull of glossy obsidian alloy, its contours impossibly smooth, like a blade cleaving the earth. Streaks of rust orange. Sediment clung to its surface, evidence that the vessel had lain here, forgotten, for centuries, perhaps millennia. "Elevate to 3 meters," she ordered, voice taut with excitement. The drones obeyed, rising to reveal more of the structure. Rippling patterns, like tidal marks frozen in metal, traced the ship's form. At its bow, rows of angular apertures glowed faintly, as though the ship's systems still pulsed with a residual blue light. No human engineering she had studied could explain it. Behind her, the rest of the expedition team stood in silent awe. Colonel Marcus Hahn, the UGC liaison, adjusted his holographic glasses, expanding the image until the starship filled his field of vision. He grunted softly. "You're sure it's not a geological formation, Doctor?" Elena shook her head. "The alloy composition is unlike anything on Earth. Even trace elements are off the charts. This is definitely artificial." Lieutenant Rajiv Patel, overseeing the drone swarm's diagnostics, tapped a control pad. "Commence ground-penetrating radar sweep. I want to know how deep it goes, and if there are any cavities we can explore." The sun sank below the horizon, and the desert cooled swiftly. The team erected a portable camp, its lights flickering against the gathering darkness. But Elena could hardly sleep. She pored over the data, her fingers dancing across the Hala interface. The glyphs etched into the hull, beneath the sand, were the most perplexing. They bore no resemblance to any human script. No vowels, no consonants, only sweeping, interlocking curves that pulsed faintly under the drone's ultraviolet lamps. At dawn, the drones resumed their work, sweeping the bow in meticulous arcs. Then, as the first rays of sunlight struck the hull at the perfect angle, the patterns lit up in pale blue luminescence. The team gasped. "Looks like a welcome sign," Rajiv joked. But Elena's stomach churned. "Or a warning," she murmured. By midday, the excavation team had cleared enough sand to reveal a breach in the hull, an enormous oval doorway rimmed with crystalline filaments that shimmered like ice. Colonel Hahn pressed a gloved finger against the reflective surface. "Doctor, shall we?" Elena hesitated. Every instinct screamed caution. Yet centuries of human curiosity, of desperate need for new discoveries, propelled her forward. "Proceed," she said. Two security officers attached magnetic clamps to the hull and pried the door open. The crystalline filaments fractured with a resonant chime, and the hatch swung inward. A gust of stale, cold air swept out, carrying with it a scent Elena could only describe as metallic dusk. Inside, the corridors stretched into darkness. Her headlamp pierced the gloom, revealing walls of obsidian alloy carved into organic curves as though the ship had grown in place. The floor panels were smooth beneath her boots, etched with the same glyphs that adorned the exterior. The temperature was comfortably cool, hovering around 21 degrees Celsius, and the air, surprisingly, was breathable, though tinged with a faint tang that set her teeth on edge. "Atmosphere is stable," Lieutenant Patel reported. "No toxic compounds detected." Elena allowed herself a small nod. Good, let's move. Their steps echoed through the silent hall, each footfall a declaration of human intrusion. The team advanced, scanners illuminating alcoves filled, with shattered stasis pods, sleek cocoons of transparent material, now cracked and lifeless. Inside, wisps of dried residue hinted at the vanished occupants, evaporated into nothingness. No bodies, no skeletons, only empty husks. Dr. Marcus knelt beside one pod. Her scanner registered traces of an unknown biomaterial, something that defied classification. These pods were built to preserve life for centuries. Whatever happened, it happened fast. Ahead, the corridor branched. To the left, a domed chamber pulsated with soft blue light. Elena led the way into the room, her breath catching as she took in the vast spherical space. At its center floated a crystalline core, suspended in midair by an energy field. Filamentous conduits snaked from it, embedding into the walls like roots. The air hummed with power. Rajiv's eyes widened. Is that a fusion reactor? Elena's pulse quickened. Not terrestrial fusion. The readings are off the charts. This core contains more raw energy than all of Earth's power grids combined. Colonel Hahn stepped forward, gaze fixed on the pulsing crystal. Imagine what we could do with that. Clean power, propulsion systems, weapons. Elena's heart sank. She knew the UGCS ambitions, to harness the core's energy for Earth's security or domination. Already, she could foresee the moral quagmire. Extracting power meant severing those conduits, risking catastrophic failure. The slightest miscalculation could trigger a chain reaction that might scorch half a continent. Behind her, Lieutenant Patel's scanner beeped urgently. Doctor, I'm getting seismic tremor, small at first, but intensifying. Something's reacting to our presence. Elena turned. The crystalline conduits glowed brighter, veins of electric blue light racing through them. A low, reverberating tone filled the chamber, like the ship itself awakening. Back up, she ordered, voice steady despite the dread coiling in her gut. The team retreated, but the hum grew louder, almost deafening. Then, with a blinding flash, the core discharged a bolt of energy into the room, shattering the far wall and sending a shockwave rippling outward. Sand and debris rained down from the breached corridor. Colonel Hahn hit the deck. Elena scrambled to her feet and hurled herself toward the hatch. Outside, the sky was a riot of dust motes illuminated by the core's glow. The ship's hull trembled, fissures spidering across its surface. Everyone, get clear! Elena shouted. The team sprinted back through the corridor as alarms in their helmets shrieked warnings. Behind them, the ship groaned, metal tearing, energy surging. They emerged into daylight, hearts pounding. A starship convulsed one last time, then fell silent. The crystalline core's glow faded to a dull smolder. For a moment, the desert lay in stillness, as if holding its breath. Colonel Hahn exhaled heavily. Is everyone all right? Elena checked. The data feed on her wrist console. Minor injuries, nothing critical. The core still active, but contained just barely. She looked back at the silent behemoth. Its secrets were now laid bare, its power undeniable. Already, the UGCS contractors would swarm this site with heavy machinery, geologists, weapons engineers, all hungry to crack the core's enigma. She knew in that moment that Earth had stumbled upon something far greater than a crashed ship, a Pandora's box of alien technology and untold potential for creation or destruction. As the setting sun cast long shadows across the hull, Doctor Marquez whispered to the desert wind, "You've awakened something we don't yet understand. May we live to learn its lessons before it consumes us." And somewhere within the broken starship, deep in the bowels of that alien fortress, the power core thrummed on its distant heartbeat echoing a warning across the sands.
By the time the world awoke to the existence of the Atacama Starship, 5 years had slipped by a whirlwind of ambition, ingenuity, and anxiety. In the cavernous hangar complex, carved into the Andes foothills, Dr. Elena Marquez watched as her team's dreams and nightmares took shape beneath banks of brilliant arc lamps. The broken hull of the alien vessel lay propped on massive hydraulic jacks, its jagged wounds repaired with patched plates of human-forged armor. Above, a web of scaffolding snaked through the ship's ribs, alive with the tangle of power conduits and data lines that would become its new nervous system. The United Global Coalition's UGC decision had been swift and unanimous. This was no mere relic. It was the key to Earth's survival in a galaxy of unknown threats. And so, under the banner of Project Argo, the greatest minds of 40 nations had converged in Chile. Dr. Marquez, once an academic, had been promoted to project lead for Xenotech integration. By her side stood Chief Engineer Malik Nishimura, burly man with ink-black hair streaked by premature gray, whose reputation for solving the unsolvable had earned him the UGC's trust. The work was nothing less than alchemy. They had to graft human technology onto an alien framework without triggering catastrophic feedback loops. The Starship's power core, still humming with alien energy, posed the greatest challenge: reverse engineering its exotic fusion reactor without detonating it. In the core chamber, now enclosed by transparent force fields, to contain any violent discharge, teams of physicists hovered over quantum flux monitors, adjusting microtoroid injectors that fed human-fabricated isotopic slurries into the alien containment matrix. "It's like threading a needle in a hurricane," Malik remarked one evening, wiping sweat from his brow as the chamber vibrated with a resonance they couldn't fully explain. "Any misalignment, and we'll end up with a nova instead of a power source." Elena offered a tight smile. "But if we succeed, we'll have power to uplift every nation on Earth, clean, limitless, unimaginable." Their progress was breathtaking. Within months, researchers had stabilized the alien core at 15% output using therium-based moderators. Simultaneously, Dr. Yuan Zhao's AI division had created the Prometheus grid, a hybrid neural network melding human deep learning algorithms with fragments of the Starship's glyph-driven computational architecture. The result was an AI more intuitive than any Terran system, capable of predicting system failures before they happened and adapting defensive protocols in real time. Meanwhile, construction teams welded Earth-made hull sections onto the alien plating, extending the ship's length by 200 meters to accommodate expanded thruster banks and railgun turrets. Each human graft was carefully insulated from the alien alloy to prevent molecular cross-contamination. The ship's once elegant curves were now a patchwork of human and alien design, a testament to both cooperation and hubris. Political pressure mounted as the retrofitting accelerated. The Martian colonies, having declared independence 2 years earlier, were racing to build their own armaments. Rumors spread of secret Martian research into subspace weaponry and orbital defenses. Back on Earth, the UGC's Security Council lobbied for the Argo Ascendant's first combat drills to take place in the skies above Phobos, a clear show of force. Elena bristled at the suggestion. "We're not ready," she argued in a tense meeting live-streamed to UGC delegates worldwide. "We still haven't mapped the Starship's entire glyph matrix. We don't know how the alien systems will react under combat stress. We could lose control of the core." Counselor Amara Said, her voice icy, replied, "Dr. Marquez, diplomacy has failed. The Martians view our hesitation as weakness. If we don't move first, they will. The Argo Ascendant must be combat-ready by Q1-102. Malik caught Elena's eye later in the corridors, his expression grim. "We build a weapon," he muttered, "and what if it turns on us?" Elena placed a steady hand on his arm. "Then we'll have to learn fast." Despite her doubts, she pressed on. Teams finalized the integration of the Aldrich Drive, an experimental warp propulsion system that, when coupled with the alien core, promised jumps of exactly 1 point to light years in under 10 seconds. In the drive bay, engineers watched in awe as the primary pylons glowed with indigo plasma, Coil magnets humming to life. The first low-power test tunneled a probe 60,000 kilometers out, and back in under half a minute. A triumph that shook the hangar with applause, but with each success came a foreboding. Static surges rippled through the power conduits when the glyphs on the hull were scanned for linguistic analysis. Dr. Marquez's team discovered that the glyphs weren't mere decorations. They were integral to the Starship's structural integrity and energy distribution. Attempts to cloak or erase them caused localized shutdowns, small ruptures in the hull's atomic bonds. Worse, occasionally they would glow without provocation. As if aware, in a late-night emergency meeting, the senior scientists gathered in the war room, an amphitheater of holoscreens, displaying schematics, sensor feeds, and diplomatic communiques. On the largest screen, a simulation of the hull lit up in ghostly cyan where glyph clusters concentrated energy flows. Dr. Zhao leaned forward. It's almost as if the ship is alive. These patterns route energy not just electrically, but bioenergetically, like neural synapses. Malik's jaw clenched. Are you saying it's sentient? Not sentient in a human sense, Elena said slowly, but it certainly has systems for self-preservation. We could be triggering defense protocols we don't understand. Counselor Saeed's face flared on the wall. Warnings noted. Nevertheless, there will be no delays. The Argo Ascendant launches in 6 weeks. Elena felt a cold pulse in her stomach. Against her better judgment, she signed off on the final combat systems report. The next days blurred in a frenzy of activity. Crew selection, tactical simulations, weapon calibrations. The massive railguns were tested, hurling fortified asteroid fragments at targets 50 kilometers away, each impact generating a crater half the size of a football field. Shield arrays were tuned to absorb microsingularity. Energy blasts. Combat A is ran thousands of engagements in virtual reality, learning to anticipate enemy maneuvers. On the eve of departure, Elena wandered the hangar, pausing before the ship's main access ramp. Beneath the hybrid hull, the glyphs pulsed with a soft light, a heartbeat she could almost feel. She traced her finger along a curve etched into the metal. Are you ready? Malik's voice startled her. He stood beside her, hands in his pockets, eyes on the ship. She sighed. Ready as we'll ever be. He nodded, then placed a hand on her shoulder. Whatever happens, we did what we came here to do. Elena met his gaze. We made a weapon. He gave a half smile. A necessary one. Under floodlights, the Argo Ascendant's engines roared to life in a crescendo of alien resonance and human engineering. The ship, once abandoned and broken, now trembled with potential, a sword forged by mankind to defend its home among the stars. As it lifted from the hangar, dust swirling in its wake, Elena whispered a silent prayer that the power they had harnessed would protect humanity and not become the scourge that consumed it. The night sky over Earth's major capitals shimmered with all the subtlety of a supernova, except the light was eerily cold, a diffuse silvery haze that pulsed in time with a silent heartbeat. It began at 2:17 UTC when billions of data feeds across every meteorological satellite registered a cluster of translucent spheres, materializing in low Earth orbit. In the span of 30 seconds, nearly 100 of these delicate orbs drifted down, coming to rest 18 kilometers above key population centers: New Delhi, London, Brasilia, Moscow, and Beijing. Each sphere emitted a soft hum. As the world held its breath, the spheres projected ghostly veils of scintillating glyphs, echoes of the patterns Dr. Marquez had spent years cataloging on the Atacama hull. Nobody moved. Within those glyphic ripples lay a promise of revelation or a specter of doom. The envoy's message in the rooftop helipads of UGC headquarters in Santiago. Dr. Elena Marquez and Colonel Marcus Hahn peered through telescopic rays. They're identical to the hull's markings, Elena whispered, voice taut with excitement and dread, but reconfigured into a language matrix. Lieutenant Rajiv Patel's portable decryption rig struggled to keep pace. It's evolving, he reported. Every fraction of a second they reassemble the characters, sending new permutations. It's like they're spanning the full lexicon of an unknown tongue in real time. Then, as if synchronized by a cosmic metronome, each sphere flickered once, and the glyphs rearranged themselves into an intelligible pattern. simultaneous across all centers. The transparent hulls of the spheres peeled back like flower petals, revealing within each a luminous crystalline core uncannily similar to the reactor that powered the Argo Ascendant. A hologram bloomed at the heart of every core, the figure of an alien captain, tall and slender, his skin a pale opalescent sheen. He stood before a star field, the blue-white light of distant suns dancing across his angular features. "I am Commander Ilarion Ixgar of the Starship Chiarlis." His voice resonated in every mind. "Bypassing sound entirely, you meddle with forces you do not grasp. Withdraw your hands or be undone." Elena felt the words strike her like a physical blow. Behind her, Colonel Hand's knuckles whitened as he gripped the railing. Global news feeds erupted into pandemonium. Some channels screamed first contact, while others warned extraterrestrial ultimatum. Decoding the ultimatum within minutes, the identical holograms faded, and the spheres vanished as quietly as they had arrived. The world was left with a single question: who were these envoys, and why had they come now? The UGC Security Council convened an emergency session. Counselor Amara Said presided, her holographic visage towering over the delegates. "We have two priorities," she stated crisply. 1. Decipher Commander Ixgar's message in full. 2. Ready the Argo Ascendant for immediate deployment. Liability is no longer a factor. We must respond or risk annihilation. Elena stepped forward. "With all due respect, Counselor, we still lack the full decryption matrix for the envoy glyphs. My team is working around the clock, but this language is unlike anything we've encountered. If we misinterpret even a single clause, we may be committing genocide or suicide." Said's eyes narrowed. "You built the weapon, you make it talk." Rajiv Patel, exhausted but determined, pored over the streaming data. The initial message was a warning, but interleaved in the glyph permutations are coordinates Starlin for 2F. Sector Gamma and a timestamp, T-minus 72 hours. "They've given us exactly 3 days to make our peace." Malik Nishimura, who had watched silently from the back of the chamber, spoke for the first time that morning. "If they're coming for the core, that's exactly why we can't hand it over. They won't settle for a ceasefire. They want the technology back, or Earth itself will be reduced to stardust." A hushed murmur rippled through the council. The Martian colonies might have been Earth's primary rival, but even they wouldn't dare threaten total planetary destruction, except perhaps the Vorish Imperium, whose dreadnought-class vessels had loomed in Dr. Marquez's mind since her first encounter with the hull's data logs. A world on edge across every time zone. Humanity teetered on the brink of panic. Stock markets cratered as trading froze. Transport networks stalled. Power grids lurched under the strain of sudden, massive surges. Some speculated the envoy's presence had destabilized the Argo's core. From halfway across the planet, online, conspiracy forums exploded with theories: benevolent saviors, heralds of apocalypse, or merely scouts testing Earth's defenses. In Tokyo, protesters flooded the streets, waving placards reading "Abandon the core, and we are not." Warmongers in Houston, veterans of the climate wars, sharpened rifles and barricaded highways. In Geneva, clandestine envoys from neutral nations attempted back-channel negotiations, but nobody could match the envoy's holographic omnipresence. Elena found herself sleepless, haunted by visions of the core's crystalline heart pulsing in unison with the alien spheres. She convened her inner circle in the Atacama staging base, a secure compound ringed by anti-aircraft railguns and orbital deflection lasers. "Time is against us," she said, voice hoarse. "We have 70 hours until Starlin 42F's Armada arrives. Our only leverage is the Argo Ascendant itself. Either we convince Commander Ixgar that we're worthy custodians or we prepare to fight." Malik rubbed his temple. "We've built the weapon. We can't unbuild it that fast, but we do have one card left." He gestured to a holoscreen showing an overlay of the Starship's internal glyph network. "These glyphs, the ones we thought were purely structural, might actually be a built-in calm link. If we can reverse the signal flow, we could open a direct channel to the envoy command, talk face-to-face. That might buy us time, or at least clarity." The race to communicate this began a frenetic push. Elena's linguists and Zhao's AI specialists worked side by side, feeding the glyph scans through the Prometheus grid while Rajiv and his hardware team rewired the Starship's subsystems. Every cable they touched risked destabilizing the core. Every keystroke might trigger a defense cascade. As the hours ticked down, tension crackled through the compound. The once bustling hangar that birthed the Argo Ascendant now lay eerily silent, its hull bathed in red alert lighting. Crews stood at the ready in combat gear, loaded M rifles slung across their backs. The warship itself loomed like a slumbering titan, its railguns aimed skyward, engines primed and humming with dark potential. At 4:17 local time, exactly 30 hours before the invaders' projected arrival, Elena keyed the final sequence. The glyphs along the ship's dorsal spine glowed one by one, tracing arcs of cerulean light that converged at the command bridge. The internal speakers crackled, and a new hologram blossomed before them. Commander Ixcar in full resolution, sorrow and steel in his eyes. He spoke without preamble. "You have discovered the heart of the Chiarolus. You have revived the pounding pulse that once fueled my people's flight. Now you stand upon the knife's edge of annihilation. Tell me, humans, why did you betray our trust?" Elena swallowed, mustering every ounce of courage. "Commander," she began, voice steady though her mind raced, "we did not betray you. We were unaware of the broader conflict. We found your ship damaged, empty, and sought only to learn and to secure Earth's future. We wish for peace, not war." Ixcar's gaze hardened. "Peace is a luxury afforded only to the strong. In our war, weakness is crushed. You have taken our legacy, the power to shatter stars, and you must now prove you can wield it responsibly." Malik stepped forward. "What must we do?" The alien captain's holographic form paused, as if measuring their souls. "Stand down your weapons. Render the Argo Ascendant inert. Submit the core and its secrets to the Vorish Treaty Council. Only then will you earn the right to your fate." Silence. The implications hung heavy. Earth would surrender its single greatest defense, its ultimate deterrent, to an interstellar authority whose aims they scarcely understood. Elena glanced at Malik, then at Rajiv, then back at the wavering hologram. In that crucible of decision, the fate of humanity hung in the balance between submission to cosmic law or the gamble of rebellion. As the envoy's light began to flicker, signaling the end of their transmission, Elena found her resolve. "We will not render this ship inert," she declared, "but we seek a third path, one where we keep our safeguard and yet avert war. Help us craft it." Commander Ixcar's eyes glowed brighter. "You propose negotiation with one hand on the dagger's hilt. Very well. You have 70 hours. Fail, and the Vorish will be here to reclaim what you stole by force if you will not yield. Good luck, humans." The hologram collapsed. In the sudden darkness, alarms blared as the countdown clock reset to 70 hours, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds. Elena exhaled so deeply her chest ached. Round her, the crew shifted into motion, minds alight with plans, contingencies, and dread. Outside, the silvery spheres reformed above Earth's horizon, silent watchers of the final act. The war they had inherited was no longer theoretical. In 3 days, the Vorish Imperium would come, and between Earth's fragile hope and a storm of fire would stand the Argo Ascendant, its hybrid hull a testament to human daring, and its shattered core, the ultimate arbiter of human fate.
The crimson dawn over Mars's moon Deimos cast long slanted shadows across the fractured surface. From the command deck of the Argo Ascendant, Dr. Elena Marquez watched through reinforced viewports as the jagged horizon slipped beneath them. The ship's hybrid engines, purring with a chorus of alien resonance and human engineering, held them steady 40 kilometers above Deimos's battered plains. Below lay the final battleground, the approach vector of the Vorish dreadnought fleet. Dark silhouettes against the Martian sky. Elena's heart hammered as she turned to Malik Nishimura at the helm. He sat motionless in the pilot's chair, eyes fixed on the swirling data streams before him. Beside her, Lieutenant Rajiv Patel tapped commands into the Prometheus grid interface, the hybrid AI charting trajectories and predicting enemy maneuvers. In real time, the rest of the skeleton crew, volunteer scientists and cadets alike, braced themselves at strategic stations. rifles holstered but ready. Behind them, the silent bulk of the Argo Ascendant trembled with potential. Its railguns, mounted in over 20 emplacements along the hull, glowed faintly with ready charges. Shield emitters shimmered in arcs of cobalt light, and at the ship's core, the crystalline reactor thrummed a star in miniature, its power harnessed but precarious. When Malik had asked Elena if she was willing to risk everything by overloading that core, she had nodded without hesitation. "Time until fleet entry. 3 minutes," Rajiv announced, voice precise yet strained dot on the main holodisplay. They, Vorash Armada, emerged from the Black 5 dreadnoughts in linear formation, each the size of Earth's largest star cruisers, their bioorganic hulls flexing like living creatures. Behind them, dozens of escort cruisers fanned out, screening torpedo arrays and anti-missile pods. Elena exhaled. Phase 1. Point defense launch. We buy as much time as possible. Malik flicked a switch, and the Argo's point defense turrets sprang to life. Rapid-fire tracers of photonic rounds streaked outward, intercepting incoming magnetoplasma torpedoes. Each explosion blossomed like a miniature nova, and the hull shuddered with each near miss. Shields at 70%. Rajiv reported. They're hammering us already. Elena's gloved hand hovered over the command override. Not quite enough. Engage the glyph network. Malik nodded. Together, they initiated the contingency sequence they had labored over for days routing. Defensive power through the alien glyph conduits etched in the hull. The patterns along the dorsal spines flared to life in rippling waves of cerulean light. Instantly, the shields pulsed, reinforcing the plasma barriers with bioenergetic feedback. Incoming ordnance burned harmlessly against the supercharged field. But the Vorash were relentless. From the lead dreadnought, a massive singularity cannon charged, pulsing with dark energy. Elena watched in horror as a sphere of coalescing void expanded in space. Drawn toward the Argo, the ship's sensors screamed a warning. No point defense system could stop a weapon of that scale. They've got a starbreaker? She whispered. Malik's jaw tightened. Evasive maneuvers prepare to dive into Dimos's exosphere. It's our only chance to break line of sight. The asteroid's gravity, will tear us apart, Rajiv objected, but Elena overrode him. We'll use the glyph network. To stabilize the hull, divert maximum power to the structural conduits. A heartbeat later, the Argo plummeted toward Dimos, engines throttling up to full. The dreadnought's starbreaker beam lanced through space, striking in their wake, fragmenting against the moon's thin atmosphere. Dimos erupted in a cascade of rock and ice, debris tumbling outward like deadly shrapnel. The Argo threaded its way through cyclones of boulders, the hull groaning as micrometeor impacts splintered the armor. Lost 40% integrity on port flank, Malik reported, voice tight. Hull breaches in sections 3 and 5. Elena steadied herself against the console. Keep her together, we're almost clear. Miraculously, the Argo burst free of Dimos's gravity well, engines screaming. Emerging behind the moon's shadow, they loomed directly beneath the Vorash formation. The dreadnought's escorts reacted, diverting fire from the lead ship to target the renegade vessel beneath them. Point defense re-engaged, Rajiv said, switching back to direct intercept. The Argo's railguns swiveled skyward, spitting hardened asteroid slugs at the nearest cruiser. Explosions blossomed, rupturing biomass plating and rupturing subspace engines. The escorts reeled, momentarily fractured. Elena seized the moment. Strike the flagship. Railguns full charge, main battery fire. The Argo's 20 railguns converged on the lead dreadnought, firing in perfect synchronized arcs. Each projectile drilled through the creature hull, rupturing containment sacks and igniting exotic reactors. The flagship convulsed, a horrific shriek tearing through the void. And yet, It did not die. It's regenerating, Rajiv said, horror in his voice. Their hulls repair faster than we can reach, Malik grimaced. Then it's time. He flipped the safety locks. On the command override, Elena keyed the final sequence. The crystalline core's glow intensified, sheets of light fracturing through its facets. Prometheus Grid's voice echoed in her helmet. Core containment at 75% critical stability threshold approaching. We need full output, Elena said. Divert everything to the core. A surge of power snaked through. The glyph conduits, the hull vibrating with resonance. The Argo's engines flared white-hot. Its shields shimmered like a dying sun. And from the bow, a narrow beam of prismatic light lanced outward, carving a channel through the escorts and striking the dreadnought's core containment. For a moment, the beam held steady, and the dreadnought roared as its hull buckled, cracking. From prow to stern, a cathedral of light unfolded at its heart, the alien core, hacked open by human invention. And then the unthinkable happened. The dreadnought's core imploded. A wave of energy, darker than midnight, radiated outward. The escorts, caught in the nova's periphery, erupted like floating asteroids. But the shockwave did not stop there. Continued, a rolling tide of annihilation, consuming starships, then disintegrating itself in a final, brilliant collapse. Elena's ears rang as the Argo Ascendant rocked violently, its own shields thrumming. Warning! Core instability 99%. Prometheus Grid intoned. Brace for impact, Malik shouted. The shockwave reached them, slamming into the shielded hull. Alarms blared as systems flickered. The core's glow became blinding, fissures tearing across the containment field. Elena grabbed Malik's arm. Eject decoupler now. Malik slammed the release. The engine nacelles and weapons pylons detached, jettisoning like fallen limbs. The central hull, mortally wounded, lingered for a heartbeat before detonating in a searing eruption of light. A shockwave slammed into the remaining nacelles, but their own ejection thrusters fired, flinging them clear. Silence. Space. The debris drifted like snow against a pitch-black sky. Elena found herself tethered in a small command pod, the last refuge attached to Malik's and Rajiv's stations. The three of them floated in the cramped compartment, staring at the aftermath, a shattered field of wreckage, and beyond it, the empty void once crowded by war. Rajiv let out a shaky breath. Did we win? Elena closed her eyes, voice hoarse. I think we did. Moments later, the pods come crackled. Dr. Marquez, this is Commander Ixcar. Your gambit has ended the battle. The Vorish advance is halted. You have proven yourself reckless, perhaps, but effective. Meet us at Starlin 42F in 3 days' time. We will negotiate the terms of your continued existence. Elena let the message sink in. 3 days, she repeated. We'll be there. Below them, Thymus's broken surface gleamed in the distant sunlight. And beyond that, Mars loomed mute witness to humanity's gamble and its hard-won victory. In the hushed aftermath, the three survivors unstrapped themselves and floated to the viewport. They watched as the ejected nacelles, battered but intact, maneuvered to rendezvous with the rendezvous beacon. Each carried a fragment of the Argo Ascendant human ambition, fused to alien design, shattered by its own power, yet still alive. Elena placed her hand on the glass. We promised our preservation, she murmured. Now we must ensure we deserve it. Malik and Rajiv nodded. Around them, the stars glittered without judgment or expectation. Earth's fate, and the fate of every world that lay beyond, would depend upon the peace they now had to forge, the alliances they would have to build, and the lessons they must never forget. And somewhere in the silent void, Commander Ixcar's fleet drifted, waiting for humanity to step forward and prove that wielding the power to shatter stars could also yield the wisdom to protect them.